Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, and I'm doing a new podcast and a new topic with a new guest host, Brie from Sun God Medicinals, to talk about a different way to improve the whole you from the inside out. So today we're going to talk more about herbs and tinctures and how different strategies we can improve your performance and longevity. So thank you for coming on the show today and sharing a different story with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So we met at Expo West Natural Products Show a few months ago and just been really eager to talk about this topic because, as I was saying before we pushed record, that we've never talked about herbs and tinctures and even what any of that's about and how it works for us. So if you could just start sharing, as I ask everybody, what is your story, your why, your passion, purpose, and mission?
Why am I passionate? Yeah. Well, it all started with my children. So... You know, as a mom, I was working 50, 60 hours a week, living the American dream as an entrepreneur with our wine stores. And my son was not thriving in school and was psychologically depressed and just not doing well. And through a lot of investigation, he's on the autism spectrum, dealing with a lot of different things. And he was not responding well to a variety of different pharmaceuticals to help him, and kind of just took it all into my own hands and started studying plant medicine and what can we do and grow and cultivate and identify here in our own natural area here in Southern Oregon to help him. His stuff he was really working on had to do with sleep and focus and attention. And so that was really the launch. And so I always like to blame him for my passion and love for herbs and plants. Because when you're working and you're going really, really fast, you are trusting those around you, doctors, other people. You're not using knowledge and lore from your village or talking to the wise woman anymore. You know, we're in this really fast move a million miles a minute culture, and realize, wow, there's another paradigm. We can actually go back to our roots and learn about plants. So that was the start, was kind of sleep related issues. And then fast forward, we were growing medical cannabis for some medical marijuana patients here in Oregon. We had a woman who was dealing with restless leg syndrome, another woman with cancer, another woman that was going through some chemotherapy for something she was dealing with. And people were saying how helpful cannabinoids were in cannabis, but they didn't know much about it. So the herbalist in me that had helped Connor with hops and chamomile and lemon balm was like, wow, what is the story behind this amazing power plant and how is it helping people? And last, you know, we have a whole hemp product line and herbal product line, and that's our story. So
I think that's why I always start the show with what's your story, what's your mission, especially people that I met at the Natural Products Show, Expo West. Everybody there where you were, the new products was, yeah, everyone was there. The owner of the company that started it was there, and everyone had a reason. They've done so much work to bring a product to life and on the market. And I know, owning a small business at a fitness studio for over 10 years, that it's a lot of work. And so it's always motivating to me and inspiring to talk to people and hearing, why did you do this? Like, to bring this product and make it, you have to have a reason that drives you. So that's a great story, because your own children are a very big motivator to get them healthy.
Yeah, and I think at first, herbs and plants were very overwhelming to me. I knew I'd go to an herbalist and there would be this sea of jars and all these different products, and I couldn't remember which one was for this and which one was for that. And I think I remember that. So part of developing the product line for me at Sun God Medicinals was trying to demystify herbs for people, making it easier for people to remember herbal allies that work together for specific body actions. So as people are looking for help with sleep, these are the combination of herbs that we've identified, and they grow together. They're bioregional herbs. That was really important to me. You know, there's a lot of truth in Chinese herbology and Ayurvedic medicine, but for me, it was the herbs and plants of the Pacific Northwest, and how can people either learn to cultivate these, wildcraft them, and identify them in their own uses. So with Sun God Medicinals, what we were really bringing to Expo West was the idea that it doesn't need to be a CBD only company that has broken down the plant into one molecule, because to me, that's a very pharmaceutical approach. For me, it was about the whole plant and how can we use hemp, this beautiful power plant, along with these other herbs and extract everything we can from these plants and then pair them together. So my first products were the herbal teas, and we sell those on Amazon, and our herbal tinctures we ship across the nation. The hemp products we just started, launched in January, and that's why we were at Expo West, was to show people, hey, on this CBD only craze, and there's a lot of companies out there that are creating these snake oil products, and we just really wanted to show that there's a place for whole plant herbalism, traditional herbalism in this movement with cannabis as a plant. So thank you for recognizing that.
No, it's funny, we'll get to CBD. I want to start with herbs, but someone this morning was telling me, a client, that there's New York Times, there's some article, because there's a lot of things that, is it really effective? And all the claims are said to be true about the benefits of CBD cannabis. And the source of it, I always say, it's like buying fish oil. You don't want to go buy it at Costco or your local grocery store oftentimes, because it's not good source. But I think that's what's going to happen with hemp, is just people are like, jump on the train and just be producing the stuff that's poor quality. So I think quality and where is it, the source of it and how it's made, I'm sure is a huge part of it when you're marketing your product.
Right, absolutely. And you bring up a great point. When echinacea was all the craze, how much are you actually getting in that pill? How much is it a brand filler, versus echinacea? And for us, that's why this foundation of our company is about bioregional herbs. We know our farmers. We know where things are coming from. Not only do we do great due diligence in our regular herbal products, but all of our hemp comes from a certified organic hemp farm here in Williams, Oregon. We know the farmers. We go visit their farms. I think that's really important. We started with the cannabis plant through the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program. So as we've embraced hemp, there's a hands-off lack of regulation in hemp products. So we as a company are using the same standards the state of Oregon requires for marijuana cannabis production in our hemp manufacturing. So every single product is individually batch tested. It adds quite a bit to the product test, but I really believe consumers need to know absolutely what is in that batch and what is in that product. And our products have high CBD, but also CBC and CBG and other phytochemicals that are coming from the hemp plant. But anyway, we're here to talk about all these different herbs.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start with the herbs. And let's even start with what tinctures are, because people might not be familiar. If we're talking to athletes who are looking to get an edge in performance, and I keep talking about longevity is the main goal at a cellular level, but the holistic method, we talk about the different elements. And as one of them, as you were talking about, is sleep. And then my other big one is stress. I think any athlete has all that, and anyone that lives in our society has issues with sleep and stress. But let's talk about what a tincture is, and then herbs to help the stress and the sleep of people, because that's with recovery and repair for everybody.
Sure. Yeah, I always tell people to really think, what has gotten you to walk through the doors of our herbal apothecaries or to come to our website? So really just stop and think, what is my goal? What have I identified within myself that I'm looking to address? And then you want to find a combination of herbs that work for you. And there's so many different methods and uses and ways to use it, from topicals like lotions and salves. We call that a transdermal application. So that would be something that you would apply directly to your muscles or to your joints. So you're applying it externally. Tinctures are sublingual drops. So good tinctures, you want to dilute with a little bit of water or juice, swish it around in your mouth, kind of hold it in your mouth to go in through your oral mucosal membranes, or swallow it. Then it becomes more like an edible-like experience. So people talk about medicinal herbs as edibles. A lot of times people can take them in a capsule form. So whether it's an oil or a powdered herb, then it's more of an edible-like experience because it's going through your gastrointestinal system. So a tincture can be sublingual if it's going in through the membranes of your mouth, if you're holding it in your mouth, or like an edible where you're swallowing it and it's going through your system. contrary to a lot of public opinion, there are some wonderful medicinal herbs for inhalation or smoking as well. For example, mullein leaf is wonderful for helping the bronchial and your respiratory system. I personally am not a super big fan of smoking. You can vaporize medicinal herbs as well to be able to get the benefits of the plants, or put them in a steam bath and inhale the steam from the herbs. So inhalation, topicals, edibles, and tinctures are the primary ways that people use medicinal herbs.
And is there research which is the most effective way to get into your system to reap the benefit?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's how fast and the duration. So there's definitely a bell-shaped curve with every product. Usually inhalation is the fastest way to get into the system, goes in through the capillaries of the lungs, but it's going to have, the most impact quick, but then it dissipates the quickest. So oftentimes we have found, and a lot of this is anecdotal, although there's quite a bit of research out there by amazing herbalists, Michael Moore, double-blind, peer-reviewed studies also from different pharmaceutical companies that have used plant-derived molecules to do studies on efficacy. But for me, in working with medicinal herb patients, they find that powdered herb capsules are the slowest, more time-released, and more sustained longer. So just really, I ask people to identify what is the reason you're here, and then what is your preferred method or kind of like your immediate need. So if somebody is an athlete and they're preparing for an event, maybe a topical on their calves to keep their calves from freezing up, kind of to keep from muscle fatigue, is something that helps a little bit longer term. But taking it internally, first inhalation, then the sublingual is the next through the mouth. And then edibles like capsules are a more sustained relief over time. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I just was listening to a podcast the other day about vitamin C, and Dr. Sarah Myhill was saying, people say it's best liposomal, but then she said there wasn't a lot of research on it. She said better just take capsules. So you just never know, because it's just so many different research studies now think it's N equals 1 anyways. But if you have a sore muscle, it seems like you put the massage cream on it, the slab. What do you call it? Slav?
The salve, we find it's therapeutic to the act of massaging something in is the therapeutic touch and kind of moving it in through the system. One of the tricks that I learned from a wonderful herbalist is the use of apples or applesauce when taking powdered herbs too. So there's something about the pectin in applesauce to help with better bioavailability, better absorption of powdered herbs. So we make some powdered herb capsules. I am not a big believer of oil capsules. There is a lot of risk of botulism and infusing herbs into oils. I personally enjoy powdered herbs and think there's a lot of efficacy there, and it's kind of fun to teach people about the applesauce trick and how it helps with absorption.
So you would take the powder, mix it into applesauce?
Either or, just take it as a capsule, but then eat some applesauce with it. So yes, it's actually preferred to dump the powdered herbs into like an applesauce, blend it up. So we deliver it we use a vegetarian kosher certified capsule. So you could even break it up as a good dosage, because it's hard to measure out powdered herbs. They get airborne, they're light, volatile. So if you don't want to swallow the capsule, you can kind of dump it into the applesauce.
That's funny. So with that, it reminds me of the first topic. The nutrition is the first element of the holistic method, and digestion is another element. But I think nutrition and digestion is really important. I keep saying what you eat, but how you eat it and when you eat it. So the how you eat it, important to get the nutrients into your body and break it down. I think there's a lot of things, and I think you guys have some tinctures for that to help for breaking down food digestive enzymes or bitters.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned bitters. I think as people, we're trained to like the sweet element and stay away from bitters. And that's a survival instinct. When we were a nomadic culture and we were going from tundra to tundra, different places, you would nibble and try new plants to see if you liked it or not. And the bitters oftentimes are the poisonous ones. So we have it in our DNA to stay away from bitters. but there are so many bitters that are wonderful for your liver. Dandelion root, for example, or dock. Those are wonderful herbs and plants for supporting the digestive system and your liver in general to help you detox and kind of blend things throughout the body.
Yeah, so you have the digestive herbal tincture, just looking up, because we do nutritional therapy at our conference. You guys should come there next year and have a table, because that's what we always talk about, bitters and to help digestion. And so many people, even if they're eating great nutrient dense whole foods that are in season and local, but one, they're eating in a sympathetic state, so digestion's turned off, but then two, they don't have the proper part of that because they're in sympathetic, but they don't have the proper saliva and enzymes and HCl to break down the food and then the gut health. So I think it's important.
Yeah, and the fennel seed is a real fun one. We love to expose people to that because not only does it have some volatile oils, it can help stimulate digestion through helping with gas and kind of bloating to be able to assist people also kind of for have healthy digestion.
I've heard of that, having fennel tea after you're eating or with your food, maybe to help digestion for people that have gas and bloating.
Absolutely. So at our company, we've identified through our years at the apothecary of the primary reasons that people would come into an herbalist, and identified, whether it's women's health, reproductive health needs. Hercules is our muscle tension and spasms product line, immune defense. Oftentimes people don't come in and just walk in and say, I need to build my immune system. Yeah. That's just kind of what we identify as herbalists trying to help identify. But people will say we have a very symptom culture. You identify how you're feeling or what my actions are in my body. And some people don't realize if they're having trouble with sleep, that sometimes our anxiety and kind of stress relief blends used during the day can really help the mind relax and be calmer at night. So many of the herbs in our blends are nervines, so they're very nourishing to the central nervous system. Many of them are tonics, which means that they're working to help your own body better their own actions versus being the cause of. So that's important for people to recognize that, just like yoga or drinking more water or kind of meditation, those are tonics for your own body to kind of try to help you work within your own systems.
So as you're saying, the next, let's go to exercise and then sleep and stress, because I think a lot of your products are so good for all these. So the exercise, let's go to that muscle, the Hercules product to help for muscle tension. How does that work?
I originally formulated that for people with seizure disorders, people that were looking for symptomatic relief from Parkinson's or epilepsy. And it's amazing, though, over the years, how many athletes have come to us and said, we love the Hercules products because they help us with this or that, or help with muscle fatigue before a race. We had a marathon runner that he swears by the Hercules salve topical that he would rub it on his calves before his run, and it would help support. So, for me, it was about muscle recovery, the combination of herbs that would keep very antispasmodic herbs and plants, like I said, that are nourishing to the central nervous system and really help support muscle recovery. And kind of one of the identifying groups was athletes or people that are using it.
So valerian roots in there, and skullcap, passion flower, and chamomile. So those are more relaxation ones. They're also probably in sleep tinctures as well. I know I've just heard these herbs Absolutely. For relaxation, calming the mind.
And if you think of that, that's what we're doing, right? Is we're relaxing and kind of just taking the focus away from stress on the muscles. And so a lot of times with sleep, calming the mind, calming the body, skullcap especially, like you are absolutely right. Many of these are used interchangeably in more of a relaxation blend as well as kind of a muscle and antispasmodic. We don't put the valerian root in with the hemp. We find that both of those are really powerhouse herbs. So when we have something in our hemp blend, we're using supporting herbs that really lets the hemp shine, like the chamomile and the passion flower. They pair really well with the hemp. Whereas if somebody doesn't want the hemp, our herbal blend adds the valerian back because it's just a powerhouse product.
So with sleep and stress, because stress usually impacts sleep, what herbs do you have for that, or what do we do?
So fresh milky oat tops is my favorite. That's our secret ingredient for our stress and one of our anxiety blends. And we extract that just once a year, every July. So that's the milky oat tops. The oat straw is amazing. It's full of calcium and other really supporting nutrients. So great way to kind of boost your body. Very nourishing herbs and plants to kind of help nourish the whole body system.
Because I find a lot of people don't recover and repair because they don't go to bed early enough and they're just wired. And then they wake up, tired and they're just on caffeine all day. So I'm really trying to push the sleep topic because I think so many people stay up all night on online, computer, blue light, and they don't get a good quality sleep. So I think that's a big thing for recovery and repair, but also your detoxification time, that body's natural internal housekeeping service comes along while we're sleeping. I think so many people are just living life as a race, as I say, and limiting that sleep and missing out on so much that they could do while they're sleeping, wake up feeling good and their body's rested and repaired and ready to go again. And
oh, absolutely. And so many people suffer from sleep deprivation, and whether they recognize it or not, I mean, I would say 20% of the population doesn't even recognize that there's a problem with sleep. But how are you supposed to have cell recovery? I think that's what you were just hitting on.
Yeah.
Your body rejuvenating. So I think that's a really good point. And kind of like what I was talking about is the stress and the worry and the fear blends that somebody might use during the daytime helps them at night. Sometimes as well, being able to get a great night's sleep or herbs and plants can help them during the daytime. I think with medicinal herbs, I always think of them as a gateway to better health, because when somebody is recognizing that they need to work on something within their body, with medicinal herbs, you always want to start with the lowest possible amount. You want to keep a journal. You want to make sure you're in a safe environment to make sure there's no herb-drug interactions. And once you start exploring medicinal herbs, you really start paying attention more to your own body. The idea of journaling, how is this impacting me? Being able to think about its impact on your body instead of just popping a pill and then reporting back to your doctor in 30 days. With herbs and plants, you're really needing to recognize what's happening within yourself, and you might notice other signals or other things that you need to be able to do besides the plant medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of plants as whisperers to help us recognize more what is going on within our bodies.
Well, I think once you've been damaged like myself, that you're so much more aware of what your body's telling you and what you need to do and when to stop and reset, reboot, and take these type of supplements. Because I think so many people, and I did it probably for so many years, override that. And you're like you're saying, you don't even know what you feel, and you're just
right
on all the time and probably adrenaline and just going all day. And then so finally comes a time when you can't keep up with that lifestyle anymore, and then you're damaged goods and just figure out ways like these herbs, how to help you sleep better, for example, because so many people they can't sleep because their mind's racing and they wake up and they can't shut it off. And so you're saying taking something earlier in the day helps best to help quiet the mind and relax, or do you take it before bed, or what works best?
Well, it depends on the goal, but we have just found that people that can't sleep because their mind is racing, that sometimes when they take some of the anxiety or stress reduction herbs during the day, are finding that they can sleep better at night because it's really helping shut down that cycle. Some people's minds get in this loop where they just focus on the same, hyper focus, on something, and they can't unhyper focus when they shut their eyes or lay down in bed. So whether it's something they're really stressed out about work, or something in their marriage or relationships with children or their colleagues or coworkers, it's really tough to live these days. And we're finding millennials especially are really gravitating towards our HECA product line, which is our stress kind of mental ease product line. And many of them are reporting that they're using it because they thought they were really stressed at work, or they were stressed during their waking hours because that's what they're conscious of. But they're finding that they're able to actually sleep through the night a little bit more because the herbs are nourishing to them 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. However, if somebody is not so stressed, but they still are one of those people that, especially with some older people, they have where they can fall asleep fine, but they're bolting out of bed just because their body feels rejuvenated and they've only slept 4 to 5 hours. But then they're finding that they need to take a nap in the middle of the day because obviously they weren't rejuvenated. That the Hypnos product line is a great herb to take in the evening. We do have an herbal tea. I recommend that people start taking these herbs after dinner in a slow environment. Obviously, don't take too much of the herbal tea or you'll be getting up out of bed all night long because you have to go to the bathroom. But the tincture is great because it's an organic sugarcane alcohol. It's a very long shelf life and it can sit right on your nightside table. And we also have a Hypnos smoking blend. So has different herbs and plants that are very soothing and tasteful. So people that are trying to get off cigarettes or other inhalation herbs that maybe aren't so great for their health. A lot of times when you're smoking, you're trying to break the habit of the habit and also the chemical dependency. So our herbal smoking blends can be a really nice replacement for people. And it could be a very soothing evening ritual because part of falling asleep is having that kind of nice, repeatable ritual for yourself. Get off the blue screen, like you said.
Yeah.
Starting at 7.
I have my whole thing at nighttime now that we do, and like washing my face and doing a scrub and putting my oils on and then, reading my books. And it's so much more calming and just getting your body reset and reboot before you can transition to sleep. And since I started doing that a few years ago, it's like, gosh, I sleep so much better when I have my little ritual and not stay up and I can't bring my iPad into bed or then you're just up really late and you just start multitasking and opening up 10 different screens at once. So it's best don't allow those.
Yeah. And humans love predictability, right? We don't like change. We like predictability. So if we can consciously create a bedtime routine, I know I feel like I'm talking to an 8-year-old, right? But I think even as adults, we need to remember the importance of a bedtime routine and how that really helps us to be able to feel like we're in a safe environment, that we've closed some chapters, that we can put something aside. But if you're constantly looking at emails, what is that doing? Every time you hear a ping on your phone or hear that triggering, it's releasing those, oh my gosh, I have to go figure out what that is, right? Like somebody might have just commented on my Instagram and then you're wondering and you're thinking and it's stimulating that mind to be curious. And so if you turn away all those distractions and create that routine, then it can allow you to kind of close those chapters and be able to sleep.
Yeah. I have to add, that is a huge pet peeve of mine. It's like, why do people have those alerts on? They drive me nuts. I have no sounds, nothing pops up and everything's turned off. And then you're around people. I'm like, doesn't that bug you? That tweet and beep and bell and whistle goes off every second. And I find it's like, and I know people get distracted because I'll be training them or I have a meeting and they look away and I know it's shifting their mind. And it's just like, if you do that all the time, squirrel,
right?
It's a mess to your brain, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would love to talk to a neuroscience, somebody who studied this because it definitely happens to me too. I'm very aware of it and I'm the same way. I'm sitting here talking to you with my phone turned over upside down because even though the sound's off, if it flashes a light, my brain is triggered to be like, what's going on? I'm getting a signal over here. So the whole point with a bedtime routine is to help eliminate signals. And I think the herbs and plants are just part of that, maybe being able to slow down, tune out, as we celebrate the 50 years of Woodstock this year, right? How to tune out should be our theme in the 21st century. How do we kind of tune out some of this stuff?
Yeah. Disable Facebook and Instagram. You don't really need to know who responded to your post or your comments or who said your name. It's like, who cares? Just when you log in, you'll see.
Yeah. Easier said than done. I agree with you. I am learning how to put that into practice myself.
I don't even have it on, so it's okay. So let's move on because I want to talk about the hot new product, CBD, because everyone's always asking questions about that every day. Does it really work? Is it true? Is it, what source you get? So let's finish with that because I know we're running out of time and this is a big topic.
Yeah, for us, we're super big believers in pairing hemp, as I mentioned before, with other herbal allies that really help boost the effectiveness of it. I think compounding herbs is so beautiful, especially if it's the right combination of herbs. So what we've done is put together typical combinations and then pairing it with the hemp. So for us, we feel through working with customers and just kind of our own knowledge of these different plants, that they assist with bioavailability. We are hearing from customers that they've tried our whole plant products. And I would love to go back to that. Remember how the word organic got really diluted, that people would say it's all natural or it's all organic. What we're finding in the hemp space is there's some key phrases that people are using, but there's really no tried and true regulatory on the term whole plant or full spectrum. So companies are using that as kind of a marketing catchphrase. And we use those words because we legitimately feel that we are doing everything we can to extract as much of the herbal goodness that that plant has to offer. We literally take it from the hemp field into our manufacturing facility. We use either organic sugarcane alcohol or infuse it directly into a carrier oil like MCT oil or olive oil, or we're powdering it and we're blending it. So we're using those extractions like the alcohol to strip all the healing benefits that that plant has to give. And there are so many phytochemicals in cannabis as a species. And just so your listeners understand the difference between hemp and marijuana and cannabis, and just if I could take just a quick second.
Yes, for sure. Talk about that.
Think of cannabis as the species or the plant, and hemp and marijuana as legal definitions of how much THC it has or doesn't have. So marijuana is a legal definition of over 0.3% THC, and hemp is below 0.3% THC. So I always like to tell people it's all the cannabis plant, and it's how it's cultivated, how it's grown, the different chemovars, the different cannabinoid profiles, but it's all cannabis. So cannabis as a plant has lots of different flavonoids, different nutrients. There's extracting it fresh or grinding it up and juicing it. There's taking it dried, just like any other herbs, fresh motherwort versus dried motherwort, fresh nettles versus dried nettles. You're going to get a lot more of the minerals through a nettle infusion than you would through a dried tincture. One of my favorite herbalists, Susan Weed, it's like, dried nettles, what's the point of that? And it's the same thing with hemp that, when you get it in, you're going to be extracting different parts of it. So for us, our products are very high in CBD, yes, because it's one of the most, THC and CBD are the most dominant cannabinoids in cannabis. So if you take away the THC, hemp is naturally going to be very high in CBD because they're the two dominant cannabinoids. But there's over 120 cannabinoids like CBC, CBG, and I could go, they're big, long words. I like to abbreviate it and make it small for people. So we do third-party testing. We have an independent lab that's not a part of us that comes in, does randomized testing of our batches, takes it back to their lab and reports back to us. And we just take their reports and put it on the container for the consumer so they can be aware of what was detected in that product. So like I said, I think that there's a lot of people out there that are extracting for CBD. It's a white isolate. They are using many people are using heavy metals. There's hexane, not using heavy metals, toxins like hydrocarbons like hexane to extract it down to a single molecule. And then they're just adding that to a cheap MCT oil and saying, here you go, here's a tincture. So for us, we're using a traditional method with alcohol, stripping as much as we can, and then either reducing the alcohol and adding it back to an MCT oil, because we had a lot of customers that were wanting a non-alcoholic option, or leaving it in that pure alcohol, very potent form. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I think for consumers, the things to be aware of, did the hemp or cannabis company, CBD only company, use third-party testing? And can they prove it? Where are they getting it? Do they do heavy metal testing? Cannabis as a plant is a bioaccumulator. So it means if you want to plant it as Superfund site, it can clear up the heavy metals and pesticides and pull it all up and clean and remediate the soils. But do you want to put that in your body as medicine? No. So you want to, our products are actually all certified organic, almost all of them. Our hemp farm is a certified organic farm. We still do once a year heavy metal testing just to make sure there's no changes because it's so important. Last thing we want to do is have somebody with a compromised immune system or somebody that is really taking care of their body put something in that is going to be detrimental to them. So maybe what would you say would be the top 3 or 5
uses for hemp products on the market or your products?
Sure. I think we hit on two of them, the muscle tension spasms. So antispasmodic, people are seeking it for that. Anxiety and stress, it's very nourishing to the body and can be very helpful, especially people with PTSD or that have triggering events in their lives. It's a great way to kind of help eliminate triggers. So for people that are trying to function and they have a lot of anxiety, worry, fear. But one of the main one is pain. And that word pain comes from so many different, you could have nervine pain, you could have spasmodic pain, but it really helps with inflammatory response. We're finding that cannabis in general can help reduce inflammation. And as we were talking about with gut health and everything else, inflammation is kind of there's a point to inflammation, right? When we want to protect something, but our bodies with our inflammatory response are too inflamed these days. Mm-hmm. So inflammation response. And then sleep. So the Aja product line is kind of our body aches and pains product lines formulated with herbs to kind of help with inflammation response. Hercules is for muscle tension. And I just have to tell everyone I ended up homeschooling Connor because he did not thrive in the public school system. And when I decided to actually launch the company, we were doing a big mythology lesson. We'd been studying world mythologies and why different cultures would have gods or deities to help them answer questions. At the same time that I was trying to help people answer questions about medicinal herbs, and I was trying to go back to the roots of traditional herbalism. So our whole product line is named, there's a mascot or legend for every product line. So,
nice. Makes sense.
Give some history.
Yeah, history in there. So I love the products on the website, sungodmedicinals.com. If you guys go down to the show notes below your podcast link, you should see links for their website and products. And there's a hemp line and non-hemp line on there too, right? So if you are not wanting to have the herbs, the tinctures with the hemp, there's two different lines.
Right. Or people can go to Amazon and search for Sun God Medicinals. Our whole herbal product line is for sale there as well.
Do you want to have people go to Amazon or your website? Support Amazon to do everything, because I find myself like, is that bad to do? Because it's so easy, but it's so nice to support people directly.
Well, one of the hard things for us is, even though we're all hemp and we're all legal, we are finding it really hard to find merchant services. For example, on May 1st, Visa pulled all hemp accounts across the nation. So we can't take Visa. Really? So if somebody's just trying to buy one of our herbal teas and they don't have a MasterCard, it's really challenging. We're trying hard to really be legal and to work within the guidelines of the Farm Bill and to respect the role of the FDA in protecting consumers with herbal supplements and products. And it's challenging. So there is a point to Amazon if you only have a Visa. But our website is great because we try to put a lot of information about the different herbs and why we chose them. So
yeah, that's great. And I had one last question I wrote down. If you are an alcoholic, recovering alcoholic, or addicted to a drug addiction, which ones is it bad to have the hemp? Because I know some people that have, like you said, not to have alcohol in the supplement you're doing, MCT oil instead. So is it for people that have addictive personalities? Is there anything to do with these products?
I have not had one person tell me that they felt a hemp-derived product was now, it is going to be psychotropic, because anything that is altering your state, whether you sense it or not, is psychotropic. People forget about that. But it is not something that will alter somebody's state the majority of the time. We are whole plant herbalists, so there is under 0.3% THC. We embrace that little amount of THC that the plant has. It's all allowed by law. But I really want to make sure that people understand that in whole plant herbalism, especially with hemp, there are going to be trace amounts of THC. Whether you feel it or not is you and your body. I don't have people that report that they feel it very often, but I think it's important for consumers to know that if your company does drug testing, that, taking it internally, there's always a potential risk with whole plant hemp products like ours. But most people have found that topical use or transdermal use does not bypass the blood-brain barrier, stays on the outside in the muscles and doesn't get into the blood system. The exception would be if you're older and you have very thin skin and you're putting it on your wrist or somewhere where there's veins very close to the surface. So I'm glad you asked, because I think it's important for people to recognize that when you're not just a CBD isolate company and you're a whole plant, there are going to be trace amounts of THC. And I would hate for somebody to...
Well, I know a few people that are recovering alcoholics, and they have to be careful with what they take because they have addicted personality.
Right. I think even alcohol tinctures are meant to be used in moderation. They're very herbally. They're very green. It's not something that you can slam or drink 100%, so I think the MCT oil there was based on consumer feedback. People were wanting an option with very low alcohol, but I think there's very little risk with even alcohol tinctures. It's medicine, so
yeah, good information. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And you guys have lots of great information on your website and lots of details on each tincture that you guys can go to their website to learn more about each herb as well, because I think it's fascinating to go know what you're taking and what's doing what. So it's great to study it yourself a little bit and know what you're putting into your body and how is it going to work and how is it impacting you as transforming the whole you, with the improvement of your sleep and your stress and anxiety, I think are huge, as well as digestion and nutrient absorption, breakdown, detoxification. So many things that we can do naturally with herbs, I think is really important lesson to learn here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thank you very much for letting me share our story and telling you a little bit about our vision and why we're doing what we're doing.
Good job. Well, we'll put everything in the show notes, and we hope to have you on again and go a little deeper into some new products and kind of the benefits of each herb itself.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.